let's let the predictions run wild, man, as we're getting into the 2023/2024 NFL awards predictions. I hate that they do the awards. What is it? Right before the Super Bowl
Yeah.
is when they do it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I it just people like when they talk about, oh, is it 2023? Is it 2024? Whatever. The season that's coming up, we're going to predict MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player, Offensive and Defensive Rookies, the whole nine. We'll start with the hottest one from the top, Jerm. Who do you got winning MVP going into this year?
Buddy, you know who I have winning
I
MVP.
do. I do, honestly.
His name is Josh Allen, and he plays for my Buffalo Bills. And the reason is simple. I firmly believe in it's his turn
Yeah.
methodology when it comes to MVP.
Oh,
He's j-
100%.
he's just been too great for too long. And I know last year he had an uptick in turnovers, but honestly, if you look at the advanced analytics, Josh Allen, as a single player, was responsible for 87% of the Buffalo Bills offense
Yeah.
in terms of touchdowns and yards.
Good
Dog,
Lord.
let me tell you, if that's not an MVP, I don't know what it is. The problem is postseason lack of success.
Right.
So they need to get over that hump. That will be my caveat. Josh Allen obviously can play like an MVP, but when I look at the top quarterbacks, it's hard to argue against Patrick Mahomes' greatness. It's hard to argue against Joe Burrow. But
Yeah.
I do believe if the Bills have, I think the Bills, a lot was going on for them last year. If you
Yep.
wanted to give them a little bit of an excuse,
Mm-hmm.
Micah Hyde was missing all year.
Mm-hmm.
Von Miller was basically missing most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the DeMar Hamlin, there was a lot going on. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
healthy now. Offensive line is better. We have 2 tight ends that we've been trying to get for the last 3 years. And it seems like we have a dynamic back in James Cook. So I think
Very
that
happy for him. I hope he really
very
bursts
happy.
out this year. He's
I
such a
hope
good
so
player
too.
at Georgia.
Having Dalton Kincaid, that second tight end, the Bills have been trying to do this 2 tight end set, and I do believe the 2 tight end set is probably when you got that right, your offense goes to another level.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when you think about what Josh Allen is capable of doing,
Yeah.
that's scary. That's monster numbers because he
Yep.
was doing it without all that. So when I look at that, I just believe it's his turn, and I do believe the Bills are going to have a good season. And so I'm going to pick Josh Allen here.
Hey, man, no complaints about that at all. I would totally be on board with you to say that Josh Allen could definitely win the MVP this year. My MVP prediction, a lot like you said, it is a big quarterback award. It's kind of a matter of whose turn is it type of thing, unless you're just going on legendary runs like Mahomes has lately.
Mhm.
I'm going to take Joe Burrow as MVP this year. I do
Mhm.
believe firmly it is his turn. We saw what he was able to do, taking the team to the Super Bowl, taking them to the AFC title game. The season after, and ultimately is just really securing that number 2, number 3 spot, that people are talking about him in. Second best quarterback in the league for me, for sure. I've got Josh
Mhm.
Allen, of course, right behind him. I'm not remembering all of the top 10 off there, but we know
Mhm.
Josh, we know Joe, we know Patrick are all in some of the great conversations. Offensive Player of the Year, Jerm, who you got?
This was tough for me, but I went with Christian McCaffrey for no other
So
reason
fair.
other than that I don't know what the Niners are doing at quarterback, so I can't imagine that the team is going to be very good because
Mhm.
that's really what this award is. Like, you have to be a good offensive player on one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah.
So I will go with Christian McCaffrey because I think he's going to be a major bell cow, especially with the question marks at the quarterback position for them. And
Yeah.
their defense is going to be good enough for them to win a lot of games. So I think we'll see a lot of good Christian McCaffrey highlights this year.
I can definitely agree with you there. This was my Offensive Player of the Year pick 2 years ago. It didn't happen. I can't remember who won Offensive Player of the Year that year, but I'm going to go Tyreek Hill this year, a guy who was definitely on pace for a major season before Tua got banged up, still had 1,800 yards receiving, one of the biggest seasons we've ever seen out of a wide receiver. He said on his podcast and on some of his streams that he's going to go for 2,000 yards before he leaves this league, retires after the 10 years, gets into the gaming venture and all. And I really like Tyreek Hill's game. He's one of the few in the league that you miss a tackle, it's a touchdown. He catches it on, a screen, it's a touchdown. He is a walking one-play touchdown. And I'd like to believe that Tua is going to be a lot more healthy. I was very impressed with Mike McDaniel. We know the offensive weapons that they have. And with Jalen Waddle on the other side of you, it's really just kind of pick your poison. Which DB is going to get burnt, which receiver is going to be open. I think that's going to be Tyreek Hill more times than not. Defensive Player of the Year.
Cooper Kupp won it 2 years ago. I am
Okay. Oh,
going
that's when he had
with
a legendary season.
yes. I'm gonna go with TJ Watt.
Back to
Simply
back?
back to back. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
That's fair.
I think I just think he's amazing. I was going to pick between him and Miles Garrett. I just think the Steelers going to have a better season than the Browns, so I'm going to go with
Mhm.
T.J. Watt.
TJ Watt, or excuse me, that was Nick Bosa that won it last year. I knew it wasn't TJ, but I know what
Yeah,
you were talking about.
yeah,
Winning 2 of the last 3.
hmm
Now, nothing wrong with that. We've seen that happen, with Aaron Donald, of course, of recent years. I feel like this pick here for me is a matter of it is your turn. Finally,
hmm
defensive rookie of the year when he came into the league, has placed second in defensive player of the year, not only his rookie year, but last year as well. The man probably set to receive one of the biggest bags as a defensive player. And Jerry Jones said, "We need the money for him." Yes, I
hmm
gave it away. It's Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
Back-to-back seasons as a rookie and a sophomore in this league with double-digit sacks. Moving him into the edge position has been absolutely insane. And I don't
yeah.
see how Micah Parsons won't be able to shine, continue to play at a high level this year, barring an injury. It could go quite a few ways, but I think when you come second in Defensive Player of the Year voting at a very young age, back-to-back years, the voters see that. And I think it is finally time for Micah Parsons to get that coveted award. And he's probably going to have a few of them by the time he leaves this league. This one could be a lock. It's all but in his pocket and handed to him at this point. Possibly comeback player of the year, Jerm.
I mean, you can't come back anymore than from death, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
literally.
like there's nothing you can come back from that's bigger than death. So yes, Damar Hamlin, all he has to do is play a full season. He doesn't even have to play
He
good.
probably don't even have to play a full
It
season,
doesn't
bro.
it
He
doesn't
probably
have to
could get
play a
13
game.
games in, to
He
let him
could
have it.
play the week 1 and retire, and he would still win this award.
In retirement, the first
It-
player ever to get an award in
yeah,
retirement.
he's the first player to die and come back and play too. So listen,
Literally.
it's yeah, it's Damar Hamlin's like period. He as long as he plays a game, he will be comeback player of the year,
Yeah.
100%. There's nothing. Again, who would be in the running for it? They would have to do something like they would have to carry a team to like an undefeated season. It would have to be something ridiculous. Like Matt
Yeah.
Stafford would have to come and throw 50 touchdowns and 0 interceptions or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it'd have to be ridiculous.
it would have to be ridiculous. Other than
Right.
something like that, then no, it's Damar Hamlin. Just lock it. They might as well just give it to him now.
100% right there with you. I'll play a little devil's advocate because I'm sure everyone would guess that, and I had him on here as well, but I even put ... Or
Mhm.
I'm going to go Russell Wilson. I'm one of
Yeah.
the few people that actually believes in Russ and Sean Payton and what they're going to do. I believe Russ could firmly return to that, 35 touchdown, maybe 10 pick quarterback that he once was. Some people think he's absolutely washed, completely done, but I believe in what the Broncos have done. Obviously, I witnessed firsthand what Sean Payton did for my franchise, bringing us back out. And I think he sees a little bit of similarity. Hey, this is not a job that a lot of people wanted. He trashed the previous coach, of course, kind of reneged on that. Not really Sean Payton like, but we'll
Right.
see how the coaching plays out. I will say, that motherfucker looks weird in some Denver Broncos orange. He
Yes,
did
he
not
does.
look like I thought he was going to, bro.
It's strange. It's odd. It's odd.
I was
It's odd.
like,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
go ahead. Get the black visor on with the
Yeah.
Fleur de lis and
Yeah.
the Broncos jacket. You look a little better with the black and orange. You know what I
Or
mean?
maybe
But
change the Broncos color to black and gold. I don't know. Figure
yeah,
it out. Yeah, figure it out. But yeah, it
yeah,
looks weird. It does look
it
weird.
was very, very weird. But yeah, I'm gonna course Damar Hamlin, but I think Russell Wilson could have a good
Yeah.
case for it as well. Speaking of a coach of the
Mhm.
year.
Bro, unofficial favorite team of stuff about sports of the Detroit Lions, man, Dan Campbell. Please. I mean, he should have won it last year. I don't even know how he like
Dable got it rightfully so, but I see what you mean also.
yeah,
His
like it's just
revival of Danny Dimes, I think, is what sealed it for him.
I got you, but just what Dan Campbell has just been able to do with the Detroit
Right.
Lions.
Right.
You know what
Arguably
I'm
the worst
saying?
franchise of the
I,
last 20 years.
I mean, geez,
They
it's
haven't
just
won a
been
division in 20 years.
and that's going to change this year. Book it. So
He said book it.
Dan Campbell is for me. If the Lions are the second half, not the 1-6 start, but the rest of the games, I tend to believe that's that version of the Lions that we're going to get from here on forward. If the
Mhm.
players can just stop getting suspended for gambling, and actually start the season correctly, yeah, Dan Campbell to me, it was down to Dan Campbell and Pete Carroll for me, but I went with Dan
Hmm.
Campbell because I'm a big believer in the Lions and what
Hey,
he's doing for them.
I like it, man. Dan Campbell's definitely got some great energy. You do want to talk about him, taking a hell of a job, turning it around like crazy, having to, mingle with Jared Goff, and especially what Goff has been in Detroit, I think is very remarkable. Even I thought he was going to go there to melt.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to turn right back around with another Broncos person. I'm losing my words
Mhm.
here. I'm going to go Sean Payton as coach of the
Yeah.
year. I really think he's got what it takes to, work with Russell Wilson. I talked about the offseason, really everything in the last comeback player of the year. I've seen what Sean's done personally. Maybe it's a little unfair to give it to him because, he did have the 1 year in retirement. The coaching was so bad. So it's like, okay, what really is the standard here? We feel like everyone knows Sean's going to win at least 7 or 8 games. It's not going to be 5 or definitely less than 5 just from the tenure that Sean Payton's had. He's not a rookie coach. Yes, he is dealing with more of a different system, but I believe in his smarts for sure. Another one I'd possibly say is Robert Saleh as well. If the Jets really have a great year, and of course a lot
Yeah.
of that will be because of that defense, because of Aaron Rodgers, bringing in Dalvin Cook. I absolutely love the signing, but Sean Payton will be my firm pick. But if Rob does come in with it, if Dan Campbell comes in with it, even Pete Carroll is still one of the better coaches in the league for sure. Now let's talk about these rookies before we get out of here into a break and then get into Brock Purdy,
Mhm.
offensive rookie of the year, which I want to say Brock won that, didn't he?
He did.
Last year, yeah,
Sure did.
rightfully so. So offensive
After
rookie of the year this year.
eight amazing games.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Bryce Young. I think I know people have jokes about his height and all that stuff, but I think he has good weapons. He's in a really good system down there
He
to
does have
showcase
good
his talent.
weapons, especially
I
for a
really
rookie.
I like Jameer Gibbs in Detroit. I like him too. I just, that offense is amazing.
Yeah.
So he's probably he was. I put Bryce Young slash Jameer Gibbs. It was hard for me to pick the two, but
Yeah.
I think Bryce Young as the number one pick is probably going to get the things he does will get. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? It'll get embellished more. His success will get embellished more, even if
Because
it's
of being number
average,
one. Right.
because of being the number one pick. So
Right.
I went with Bryce Young.
He's naturally going to have more eyes on him for sure. No, I love the pick, man, no doubt. I'm actually going to go Bijan Robinson for the Falcons. I think he was a top
Yeah.
player. I want to say when I did my top 10 overall players in the draft, I want to say Bijan was in the 5 to 8
hmm
range for me, but rightfully so. I mean, we've seen him generational prospect. Did a lot at Texas. The
Yeah.
Falcons were one of the better rushing teams in the league last year. I want to say second to the Chicago Bears because, of course, Justin Fields running for his life. But the Falcons really have built an offensive line that's respectable, which is really rare to say. They have built a run game, which has come around over the last few years. That is very respectable, which is rare to say. They have a great offseason in terms of defense. I put it on the channel. They're going to have a top 10 defense, which you would probably never say
Yeah.
about the Atlanta Falcons. And when you look at Bijan Robinson coming in, Arthur Smith clearly worked with Derrick Henry. I don't believe it's going to be a 1,800 yard, 2,000 yard season. But if Bijan comes out and rushes for 14 to 1,600 yards in his rookie year, how does he not win it? We saw Zeke win it when he led the league in rushing with 1,600, a little over 1,600 yards in his rookie year. Not the same running back, but clearly a guy who's going to get a lot of touches. And the Falcons were, first in rush yards per game. Excuse me, not first. I want to say they were top 3 in the following categories. It was rush yards per game, attempts per game, yards per carry, and like EPA per rush yard or per
hmm
rushing play or something like that. They were the tops of all of it, So that's why Bijan, I didn't like it as the pick. I would have loved to see Jalen Carter possibly, but nonetheless, that's who they took. Another honorable one would be Jordan Addison. I think he was the
Yeah.
best receiver in the draft by far. He's going to lose a lot of looks to Jettas, no doubt about it.
hmm
But he's clearly in line for him and Justin Jefferson maybe to be one of the best duos in the league. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
You just said it, Jalen Carter. I think I
There you
think in
go.
Eagles, I think in that Eagles defense. I watched his last preseason game. He seems like a monster, so I'm going to go
Oh
with him.
yeah. Tossing them to the side, tossing
Mhm.
them to the side. I had Nolan Smith on here as my honorable mention. I think he could take it away as well. I wish he was a little bigger in size for sure. I feel like it could possibly be a lock for him. I'm going to go Will Anderson though for the Texans. I do think he was a top player in the draft, maybe the best player in the draft, clearly the best defensive lineman, defensive player, edge rusher. However you want to cut the pie, we know what Will Anderson brought to the table. Of course, the Texans made out with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, the first couple picks of the one of the better NFL drafts that we've seen in recent memory. But yeah, I'd go Will Anderson definitely. I love the Jalen Carter pick. I'd even possibly have a Nolan Smith in there as well. We've seen some people maybe say Christian Gonzalez, but I'm pumped about the 2023 NFL season. Y'all get in the comments, get in the chat, let us know what you think about the MVP, offensive player, defensive player, comeback player, coach of the year, offensive and defensive rookie of the years as well.